Ashley Wilson and I am the Head of Service Development and Quality at SJOG. However, for the previous 12 months, I've also been leading on a project called Here to Help, which was around raising awareness of suicidality for autistic people. I'm also with my colleague Meryem.
Hello, it's Meryem, here to help project manager.
What we want to talk to you about today is a little bit of an evaluation of our project, give you some key wins, and maybe discuss some of the challenges that we went through throughout the project, and also give you a little bit of a fast forward to what's next.
Well, first question will be like, how many people did the project end up supporting, and what surprised you the most when we're scaling all of the engagement?
I think for me, our original bid, we looked at potentially supporting 2,000 people across Tees Valley. And that was aimed at autistic individuals, it was aimed at parents, carers and professionals. By the time we finished the project in March of this year, we had over 78,000 engagements across the project. So by engagements, I mean we had individuals linking with us on our social media, so that was over 47,000. We actually supported over 1,000 autistic individuals themselves, and we supported around about 200 family members, which was fantastic. I think the bit that most surprised me about the project was how quickly everybody really needed it. I think we launched as a soft launch in June, which was fantastic. We had over 50 professionals attend the soft launch, but when we launched the project fully on the 1st of July with the website, I don't think we massively underestimated the amount of people that would actually engage with the project. So that was definitely a surprise for me, and more around how little there was out there in terms of tailored support for autistic people who had mental health issues or were facing suicidal ideations.
So, looking beyond the numbers, that you have created lots of tools, resources and trainings to the autistic individuals, their parents and carers and the professionals. And I was wondering that what patterns stood out in your data, and were there any resources that worked better than you expected?
Yeah, I think what was really good is when we launched the project, we launched it alongside an awareness campaign. And with that, we used our Magic Space. So Magic Space is a sensory bus. And what that allowed us to do was also tailor some sensory respite into events for autistic people. And it also brought people over to ask about the project. So I think that face-to-face interaction with people was really, really good. When we started looking at resources and ensuring that we had the more tailored information for autistic people, we actually worked to co-produce our information. So we had a cohort of autistic individuals who thankfully provided us with lots of information and lots of guidance. And from that guidance and feedback, we developed our website. The website was undoubtedly the most impactful area of the project, but what it did allow us to do was to continue to keep developing those accessible resources. Our main toolkit that was downloaded was actually I Need Help for Myself, which is quite nice to think that the people who were potentially downloading that were going to use that information in support of their own mental health.
Yeah, so it's focused on the main area and purpose has been
absolutely
completed. Yeah, that's great. So the accessibility was more than what buzzword here, but what kind of feedback did you receive from the autistic individuals, their parents or the professionals?
I think all of the feedback was extremely positive, which was brilliant. I think what was more astounding from a professional's perspective was that it was something, again, that was very much needed. So lots of our feedback was centred on, can we have some more? And I think one of the great things about Here to Help when we launched in the Tees Valley was that there was no barrier to accessibility of training. So we provided all of our training for free. And this included collaborations with people like Samaritans, Girl Guiding UK, but it also allowed us to go into local ICBs, local authority professionals, so social workers, nurses. And what we did with that is, because it was free, we were able to work with people and tailor that training towards them. So accessibility was key in so many different ways. It wasn't just around making our resources accessible, but it was actually making the project accessible to everybody.
Oh, that's brilliant. What did we learn about the drop-in sessions that you have done through the autistic individuals, I think, in all over the Tees Valley? How do you find this experience?
It was really good actually, because I think the best element of the project was that it continued to be co-designed. So it was around about October, November time last year. The project had been running around about 6 months. And we did an evaluation with our group sessions. So we would hold group sessions across the Tees Valley area for autistic people to attend. And when we did that evaluation, we actually found out that potentially group sessions weren't what they wanted.
Yeah.
And what we were able to do with the flexibility of the project was to change our approach and say, right, well, we'll change this to one-to-one, or we'll offer you an opportunity to meet with us online. We often did telephone calls with individuals, and the feedback following that was actually more valuable to us because people were able to be themselves in a situation and not have to respond to other members of the group. So that was quite a learning curve for us. We thought we'd capture more people and provide more support through group sessions, but actually what was actually wanted and what was needed was one-to-one. And we continued with that one-to-one until the end of the project, which was really good.
You tailored all of the support hands on the autistic individuals.
Absolutely.
While toolkits were provided to the professionals that you have said you will provide lots of trainings to the Samaritans, girl guiding, main, and lots of different perspectives when it comes to the professionals. And how was the feedback as they provide direct help to the individuals, but they might not aware about the autistic perspective?
Yeah.
How was the feedback from the professionals?
I think it was really key to especially when we were designing specific training. So for the Samaritans, it was a tailored course because they were crisis call managers basically. So they were the frontline support if anybody rang. So having that discussion with somebody like Samaritans to say this is how you can tailor your toolkit to be more autism capable was actually really good. And the feedback from that was extremely positive. When we've provided training across other sort of professional areas, so when I was talking about like social services or health professionals, I think what was really key to note was that they were very much trained as you would be from understanding autism awareness or understanding autism for a person, but the practicality of applying those strategies for an autistic person wasn't always an element that was involved in previous training that they'd received. So it wasn't just about saying an autistic person might potentially behave in this manner if they're feeling suicidal. It was about actually what can you do if you recognise these and if you recognise these signs. When we worked through a lot of the training, we used something called the Autism Adapted Safety Plan, which was actually designed by Newcastle University. And lots of people collaborated on that, and basically using that and actually showing that to professionals provided them with an understanding that actually typical risk management formats or typical risk management documentation wasn't suitable because it didn't pick up those autistic characteristics in people. So I think the feedback was wholly positive. There's been lots of people that have come back to us and said, can you please come and deliver again? Whilst we tried to meet needs wherever we could find it, we were restricted in the previous project around Tees Valley areas. So although we did have requests from other areas in the northeast, we did predominantly focus on Tees Valley. So I guess the feedback has elevated us and helped us gain more notoriety of the project on a wider scale.
When I read the evaluation, you had lots of focus, but also raising awareness that starts from magic space to radio broadcasting. So when we consider all of them together, what was the point of, especially when we focus on raising awareness on autism and suicide prevention?
I think when when we looked at this project and the concept of how to design a project like this, it was basically on the back of the 5-year strategy for suicide prevention. And autistic people were actually named as a priority area. Um, what we found when we were looking at designing the project in the early days was very little research, very little awareness about it, and even though we've worked with autistic people, lots of people on the project have worked with autistic people for a long time, that area of expertise had never really been explored. So I think when we did start raising awareness, it started almost that chain reaction of people asking us questions. So if we didn't have a specific toolkit and somebody rang us or contacted us via email and said, can you do something around sleep hygiene, for instance, it then started that reaction for us to use that feedback and continue to grow the project. So I guess the raising awareness element, I mean, it was massively promoted through our social media, and like I said earlier on in the chat, we were almost at 50,000 engagements just on social media alone. But what it also did is it brought people to SJOG's understanding SJOG's site and actually what we could do. So lots of things have come from the project. And I hope that awareness is now instilled, and it's actually going to be taken forward by lots of local authorities. There's 37 local authorities across the UK that have received funding for suicide prevention. It's not specific to autistic people, but if we can influence that in any way through our awareness campaign in Tees Valley, then that's a bonus.
That sounds really nice, actually. And now the project is ended after 1 year, and you have succeeded in other funds. So, what do you think about this? What will be the next steps, and what we can expect from the Here to Help for the next 2 years?
Oh, that's a big question. You're right. Yes, we have successfully achieved funding until May 2027, and that is through the Albert Goubet Charitable Foundation. And what we aim to do, because although we didn't intend to restrict access to Here to Help, and it's always been a free resource, especially from an online perspective, but what we did focus on was autistic individuals. What we would like to do under the project going forward is include individuals who maybe have a diagnosis of learning disability, or families who support somebody with a learning disability, because again, mental health affects everybody, and potentially suicidal ideation affects everybody as well. And I think just from the impact that we've had from Here to Help in a very concentrated area in the northeast, widening that to a bigger region across the northeast, and also including more people, will just hopefully have a more positive impact on the area in terms of uplifting mental health. The northeast is one of the highest areas in the UK, unfortunately, for suicide rates, and if we can do anything to reduce that through the Here to Help project, then let's go for it for the next 2 years.
Yeah, that's brilliant. How about your reach area now? Is that limited with Tees Valley?
No, I would say we are going northeast, but I'm not gonna exclude any area. I think if somebody came to us and said we would really like to either replicate your project or would really like to see how you could support us in another area, then we would absolutely always consider that. But for the purposes of the grant, the project is focused on the northeast, but we meet need where we find it, and I'm sure if anybody got in touch, we would have that conversation.
Okay, thank you very much. Last question. So actually, you were the key part of this project from day one till the end of the project. And what you will say about what was the most proudest part of the project?
I think being on the project from day one, I think it's important to recognise that the people that were with us at that time. So we did have a fantastic previous service manager called Rachel. She was brilliant at bringing in that kind of understanding and those sort of networks that we ended up working within. And we also had Lynn as a project officer who was fantastic with the awareness campaign around Magic Space. So I think the key element for me is not only how we managed to push out that reach of the project, but also how we managed to create a whole new area of work for SJOG, and also begin to filter all of the expertise in SJOG down through the project. We've got a fantastic complex care team who feed into the project, which is brilliant. We've got a disabilities team who also are going to feed into the project over the next 2 years. So I think for me, it's how flexible. The best thing about the project for me is how flexible it can be. It can meet whatever need that we need it to meet. And although the focus is on autism and suicidality and now learning disabilities, I think having the framework that we've used for the project, it's almost give us a benchmark for everything else that we do moving forward. And I think the success of the project is based on the people who've been involved, and that includes the people across the community as well as the people in SJO.
And also, I think it's also recognized by the awards as well.
Yes, Here to Help was identified as one of the projects of innovation for the Caritas Europa Innovation Festival, and that was fantastic. We were able to present to lots of people all over the world, and we also received a trophy for that, so that's been great. And just recently at the Learning Disability and Autism Awards, we were highly commended. So we haven't quite won yet, but I'm sure we will. But it's been lovely just to see that the project's been recognised and acknowledged.
Thank you very much. I think it was really useful in terms of summarizing all 1 year and what we will focus on the next steps. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for the chat. It's been really good.
Yeah.